on the News Channel 5 network. This is OpenLine.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being with us here for OpenLine. I'm Carrie Sharp. Great show ahead for you for the next hour. It's Ask the Mayor tonight, +1. We'll meet our lovely guest tonight, Mayor David Briley. Thank you again for being here. Our second month of this.
It is good to
I'm
be here.
glad you came back.
Oh, thanks.
And you've brought along another one of your directors, Lucy Kemp. Thank you for being here.
Thank you
New director over at the Planning Commission. You just assumed this role last month, though you've been with the commission for about 2 years, right?
Yes, that's right. Thank you for having me tonight.
Oh, we are glad you're here, especially with the growth, the boom in Nashville. You are the woman, well, I guess, leading it all right now, making big decisions for Nashville, right?
It is a real honor to be in Nashville at this critical moment. So it's a great community, and I'm real pleased to be here.
Your last stop was in Washington, D.C., obviously a bigger city than us, different needs, different focus. How does that translate to bringing your job here, bringing your expertise here?
You know, it's interesting. Washington was a community that was growing just like Nashville. And so a lot of the issues that we're confronting here about transportation, traffic, the character of who we are and what our city wants to be, all of those were very applicable, actually. So they're very different communities, but a lot of the planning principles are the same.
I'm going to put you a little bit on notice. I didn't ask you this before the show, but since you sorry, but since you just took over this role, I'm sure you have a couple of things that you want to check off. Like, here are my first top 3 things that I want to prioritize.
Yes.
What are they?
So I'm really interested in expanding and broadening our community engagement process. We need to be in all of the different neighborhoods and communities within Nashville. Planning is an interesting profession because it is community driven. It brings together lots of different disciplines, and I believe we need to be in constant coordination, receiving guidance from our citizens here, and so that's one thing I want to focus on. I'm also very interested in doing corridor planning, so looking at the many corridors, talking about what it feels to walk on them, the types of buildings that should be located on them. We're starting with a process on Charlotte Avenue, a community visioning process to look at the urban design quality, open space, streetscape, and the like. And I think that we'll be interested in doing that along many of the corridors here in Nashville. So those are two goals.
Yeah, those are big goals right there. And I imagine you're on board with this too, Mayor.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds good to me. I don't think I could have put it any better. As we grow as a city, it's really important for us to make sure that we are always engaged with the community, because the space we build, the kind of city we build out, is going to have a direct impact on everybody's lives. So it's really important for us to make sure we're building the kind of place that people want to live in.
Yeah. When you look at Nashville's growth, and I'm sure that there are companies every day that you're in contact with and different issues, what are the 2 main things for you that when you always look at, is this the right thing for Nashville? What do you think about?
In terms of growth?
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the most important things that we've seen recently is to make sure that everybody is benefiting in a broad sense from the growth we're having. The pace has been so quick recently that I think we have seen some people get left behind. So we're trying to focus on that a lot more as we make decisions about investing in infrastructure and business relocations, just making sure that everybody is going to benefit from that. And then I think, I think one of the important reasons that Lucy is the new planning director is that we need to be more focused, I think, on the kind of neighborhoods we're building out, and being more focused on the details of what kind of buildings are going to be on which corridors, and how are we going to build out the kinds of neighborhoods that made us the great place we are right now as we continue to grow, which I think everybody is okay with the growth. It's just maybe the pace of it that's gotten a little bit too fast recently.
Yeah. I want to remind you, this is OpenLine, so this is your chance to ask your questions that you've been thinking about at home. Call ahead. We'll go ahead and get those screened, and we'll get you on the air. 615-737+ is the number to call. Looks like we have a couple more lines open, so if you've got a burning question, now is the time to call, because I know we're going to get through a lot of these tonight. Before I get all those names lined up, I do want to ask you where we left off last month. You had pitched your budget. The council was talking about it. They have now passed a budget without a property tax hike, which is what you were hoping for.
Right.
Going in and planning ahead for the years to follow, what are you focusing on?
So we still have got a lot of work to do this year. I mean, we passed a budget that doesn't include a tax increase, which was my #1 priority. Now we're going to manage our way through the year, just like every family has to do when things are tight. You tighten the belt, you look for areas where you can save money, and you try to spend your money as effectively as possible. And we do have a very tight budget this year, so we've got a lot of work to do during the next 12 months or so to make ends meet during the year. And so there'll be some hard decisions to be made as we go along, but I'm confident we'll be able to make it through the end of the year on budget and have our expenses meet our revenues. So then that puts us on track for next year, where ideally things will not be quite as tight. We'll have some more room to maneuver and maybe provide some more assistance to our employees. That's one of my highest priorities next year.
That's what I was going to ask you, is just how realistic would a raise be?
Well, I think it's a little bit too early to know for sure, but all I can say is that we'll be working for the next 12 months to make sure that whatever potential there is, that we raise it and we do everything we can to provide our employees a cost of living adjustment this coming year, and in addition to find some new revenue for Metro schools. Those are our two highest priorities every year.
Also, I want to ask you about Metro General. We've done a lot of shows on the status of that. It was a big concern in the last year, to the point where we were talking about closing the inpatient hospital side of it. What does the next year look like under your plan?
So I continue to meet with the director of the hospital, Dr. Webb, and also Dr. Hildreth, who is the administrator at Meharry Medical College. That's probably not the right title. It's probably president, I'm guessing, president at Meharry Medical College. And we're working to make sure that that they are better aligned. I think that's been part of the problem going along, and just to make sure that every penny that's spent there is spent as effectively as possible. We subsidize the operation there by about $46 million a year, and if we could take some of that money and spend it on other health-related issues that we know we have in Nashville and still operate the hospital at its current level, that would be my objective. We have a pretty high we need to spend more money on prenatal care in Nashville. We know that. We have a high level of obesity here in Nashville. We could spend more money on that. So just I'm working on helping the hospital make sure they're spending their money very effectively, no waste, so that we can spend the money on the things our community still needs, even with General Hospital operating at its current level.
Good deal. Okay, looks like the lines are full, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, straight to your phone call. Stay with us.